know this picture is crazy, and I want to kind of break down a few things before we start. Now, so this thick part here that goes all the way through with the unfilled circles and the lines in between, that's the membrane, the thylakoid membrane, okay? The thylakoid membrane, excuse me. Now, these unfilled circles are the hydrophilic heads, and these lines in between these unfilled circles are the hydrophobic tails of the membrane. So that explains that part. Now these dashed lines that go across, we can see here, 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 are side processes that we won't really be covering for this description of this photo. But what we will be focusing on is here, the darkened circles, right, with arrows. So this basically shows the process and the transportation through the thylakoid membrane that we're going to be focusing on. Okay, and another line I want to tell you guys about is this, it's just straight dash line. And all that does basically is just describes what that component's name is. So here we describe that this is the thylakoid membrane, right? And here we see this, it's its name, this is its name, thylakoid space, chloroplastoma here, okay? Now, these arrows here, boom, boom, depicts conversion, right? So we see that NADP is converted to NADPH, which we'll be getting into in a little bit. So real quickly, I wanted to go through one more thing because there's a lot of things going on in this picture. Excuse me. So I wanted to just go through the words and components and the definitions for the terms that we might be using. So first off is cytochrome B6F complex. Now this plays a key role in electron transport associated with the membranes of the thylakoids in the processes of photosynthesis. It accepts electrons from photosystem 2 through plastoquinone and contributes to proton transport across the membrane. Now ATP, we can see it here, ATP, as we know, is the energy currency for life, and it's an energy storage molecule. Here, by the way, just in case you didn't see it, the ATP synthase is an enzyme that creates the energy storage molecule, ATP. So ATP synthase is what creates ATP in layman terms. Now here we see this E, here, we find it here, we find it here. So that's just a symbol for energy. Now H plus, we can see it here, 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 everywhere, right? So that's just hydrogen. Now ADP is an organic compound, and it's converted to ATP for the storage of energy. Now you can see ADP, arrow of conversion to ATP. Now glucose is a sugar, and it's the main type of sugar used for energy for the body cells. Phosphate's the next word, and it's a biological molecule that plays a major role in the biological processes of many organisms. And then we have RUBP, and it's essential to photosynthesis. It's a 5-carbon compound that will attach to carbon dioxide taken in by a plant. NADP is an important molecule, and also the next term. Now this important molecule is used for moving energized electrons during photosynthesis. H2O, you can see H2O here, we can find it right here. And as we know, H2O is water. Now NADPH is the reduced form of NADP used in reactions. So you hear the conversion from NADP to NADPH, which we just now defined. Now photosystems 1 and 2 here, PS2, PS1, they're biochemical mechanisms in plants, and it's where chlorophyll absorbs light energy for photosynthesis. Now these two mechanisms are very similar. The only difference is the chlorophyll proteins in these complexes. Now reaction center chlorophyll A is one of the differences between chlorophyll protein complexes within the photosystems. Alright, so the reaction center of these chlorophyll A's is the energy of light, is where the energy of light is converted into the motion of energized electrons. At the center is a key chlorophyll molecule. When it absorbs light, one of its electrons is promoted to higher energy. So later when we're describing this picture, we're going to start here at the dotted line, like I said. And basically when the photon of light enters here into photosystem 2, it bounces around like a pinball machine, until it reaches the reaction center. Basically, when it hits the reaction center, it's going to be initiated to a high level of energy, and it's going to start going through its journey of life through the membrane. All right. Now, chlorophyll is a pigment that gives plants the green color, and we also know it's a component along with sunlight and other things that gets plants its nutrients. Now, the oxygen evolving complex is a water oxidizing enzyme involved in the oxidation, forgive me, of water during the light reactions of photosynthesis. Ferredoxin NADP reductase is the last enzyme in the transfer of electrons during photosynthesis from photosystem 1 to NADPH. Now, plastocyanin, up to you, serves as an electron transfer agent between the cytochrome complex, which follows photosystem 2, and entry point to photosystem 1 of the non-cyclic electron transfer process. CO2 is carbon dioxide. Plastoquinone, or none, is one of the electron acceptors associated with photosystem 2 and photosynthesis. O2, as we know, is oxygen. Ferredoxin is an iron-sulfur protein that helps mediate electron transfer. Glyceraldehyde, 3-phosphate, is a 3-carbon sugar that is the starting point for synthesis and other carbohydrates. Now, the photon of light, as we described, is the thing that goes in here, gets promoted to a higher level of energy and goes to the membrane. And we know that a photon of light is basically the elementary particle of light. Ribulose bisphosphate, it plays an important role. We're gonna see it later on, but it plays an important role, and basically carbon dioxide binds with this and immediately splits to form 2,3 phosphoglycerate molecules in the presence of an enzyme called rubisco. Okay, and 3-phosphoglycerate, which we talked about just now in the definition of ribulose bisphosphate. So 3-phosphoglycerate is basically a molecule in the Calvin cycle. Not really much to say about it, but it's also abbreviated to G3P. The thylakoid space here, is a space on the inside of the thylakoid. The thylakoid membrane is a membrane of chloroplast. Okay, so it's the membrane of the chloroplast. This whole thing is chloroplast. All this is done in the chloroplast, right? And thylakoid membrane, thylakoid space. Now the stroma, chloroplast stroma, which is basically a colorless fluid surrounding the granite and the chloroplast. So all of this is just surrounded by the stroma. Alright, that being said, we got through all those definitions. Thanks for bearing with me. Now I just wanted to go through and just talk about this process because it's so important. Now we're going to start with step 1 of the light reactions. Since we already covered the photon light going through here and being produced, and being, not produced, forgive me. So we just talked about the photon of light entering here into the reaction center and bouncing around like a pinball machine until it reaches the reaction center, which is then promoted to a higher level of energy. From there, it starts this process. Now that's the first step of light reactions. Now these are a series of redox reactions that occurs first in photosynthesis 2 and then photosynthesis 1. Now, if it seems like they're out of place, it's because they're named in order that they were discovered. So basically, in photosystem 2, the electrons flow, right? So as we see in the dotted line. So it flows through a series of compounds that are embedded in the thylakoid membrane. Now, it's kind of like the electron transport chain in cellular respiration. Now, ATP will be the byproduct of this whole thing due to a electron gradient and such. Now it goes through here. Now the electrons are moved through photosystem 1, another electron transport chain. But instead of producing ATP, photosystem 1 will result in the conversion of NADP to NADPH. Alright? So you can see that with the conversion here. The line. One more time. Now, so the line fractions of the thylakoids basically starts here, Goes all the way through. Okay? And that's basically called the light reactions, which is stage 1 of photosynthesis.